everyone, it's Brianna Ray from BriIY, here to bring you another video. This time I'm doing something that I've absolutely been dying to try, and especially to try it on a budget. So I popped over to Amazon and a little bit to Dollar Tree, and I picked up some fun little tools so that we can make a fun little tool to make a project. That came out great. I love buying these 5x7 canvases from the Dollar Tree. They are always super useful to make other tinier projects. I think the last time I used these, I ended up turning them into a small loom so that we could do at-home looming, if you will. Weaving, that's the word I was looking for, at-home weaving. And this time I'm going to show you how to take these super easy, really inexpensive Dollar Tree canvases and turn them into tools to make your own paper from home. Now finally, what I'm sure you've been waiting for is what's inside this mystery bag. It's mesh screening, yay! I got mine off of Amazon because I thought they were already in a pretty good size. I guess for some reason I thought these were 5x7 already. Apparently I was wrong, so we'll have to trim this up a bit. But I am only going to need one. It came with two, and I just didn't want to have to buy a large roll when I knew I was going to be making really tiny sized paper. So first things first, in order to create your tool, you're going to need to start by taking the canvas off of the frame. Now that I have both of my frames all cut out, I am going to trace around the outside, which I already did actually, of this, and I'm going to go take it to my metal cutters. And once you have everything cut, and honestly super easy to do so, especially since it's got these grid lines, I just cut where I needed it to go and then followed the line all the way down. Super easy, no cuts, maybe a little bit of a strain on the wrist from the going. But now what we're going to do, and luckily because these frames are so thin, I am able to take just a standard Dollar Tree stapler, one that doesn't even lay flat, and slip it right over top, making sure to avoid some of the other staples I haven't totally been able to pull out, and tack it right down. So I'm going to do 3 on the short ends and 4 on the long sides, and get this stuck on there nice and good. So far, so great, and it doesn't even go all the way to the back because they are standard size staples. So I'm going to do this one. Let's do the side, the bottom, and then I'll do the sides. And after all that, we have what is called our mold. And this is going to go along with our other frame right here, which I believe is entitled a Deckle, which is supposed to prevent any extra paper bits from coming onto your mold, and obviously the mold is what shapes it to this particular shape. Now, in order to actually create the paper, you're going to need a lot of ground up paper chunks. So I've been collecting some, junk mail, spam, whatever, coupons and all that, and throwing it into this paper shredder that I got. It's definitely not a cross shredder, it's just the strips, but I am going to actually throw these into one of those like mini blenders that I have. So this is currently what I have in terms of paper shreds. Of course they are all strips, and I am going to want to put them in squares. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all of these up into squares, pop them into my blender bottle thing, and this is what I'm going to fill up with water and let this soak overnight for the best results. Now this is the first time doing this for myself, and from what I understand, it's kind of trial and error to figure out what works. So I am going to soak this amount and hope that that's going to be enough for just a couple of sheets. I really don't want to, put all my eggs in this particular batch's basket only to find out that I did something wrong in an early stage, like how much I've cut them or the types of paper that I have in here. So I am just going to do this as a tester, see how it works, and report back. This is actually like really fascinating to watch. Look at that. And here we have it, some paper pulp in this, honestly, kind of almost the exact gray tone I wanted. And now I have this bucket here, so I am actually going to put my pulp in the bucket. So there she is, all pulpy and beautiful. I am thinking that that's gonna need a little bit more water, so I'm gonna go fill up this guy and get this smooshed all around. It honestly kind of looks super disgusting, but let's get this in here. Hoping that this pulp is like thin enough, I guess. This is just based off of the videos that I've seen, but in most of the videos it does kind of look like mostly water and the pulp is more interspersed. So at this point it's now 1 part pulp, 2 parts water, and I think it looks a little bit closer to like it does in the videos that I've seen. Now what we're gonna do is actually get in our paper mold and deckle. So from my understanding, it is gonna be mold on the bottom, deckle on top. Okay, I'm gonna call this a fail because I can't get it to release. So I'm actually gonna pop this back in the water, mix it up again, and then try to do it the right way this time. So let's try that. Alrighty, I think I found the system that works best for me and my severe lack of patience. So I'm going to mix this around once more. This is going to be my 3rd piece now. First things first, you're going to want the mesh facing you. Put your deckle on top, line it up as good as possible, and you're going to want to dunk it in and keep it moving. Do not stop the motion, especially once you pull up, because this is what is going to even out your sheet of paper. Now I'm going to kind of keep giving it a good shake just to get any extra water out. Good shake. Okay. And once it's close to done dripping, sometimes I'll just kind of set it here to finish its business. I'm going to move this off to the side and I'm going to bring in a mostly dry towel. So now that I have my towel laid out, I'm going to lay it nice and flat. And I'm going to refer back to this guy, take my deckle off, and I like to kind of clean up the edges a little bit at this time. So once I have that done, I'm going to want to start getting a lot of that moisture out. So that's going to start kind of on the bottom side, getting those like big obvious sets of moisture off. And then I'm going to flip this over on top of my mostly dry towel and use that to get most of the moisture out of this backside. Thankfully it's pretty stuck on there. So I'm just going to flip it. I'm going to kind of put it in a corner somewhere so that I don't soak it. Peel it up. And you can see it soaked up a lot of that excess water right there. And this is what it looks like now with the texture in there. So I'm actually going to do the blow drying off camera just because I don't have a good setup for filming in there. But back front, and I just kind of wait until it kind of starts to peel off on its own from the air. Alright, now you can see it's mostly dry, kind of sticking together, so I'm actually able to peel, which is stunning. So that's what I'm going to do, peel it off, and then I lay it in on another towel so that I can fully dry it overnight. I do have a little bit of pulp left, so I think I'm just gonna try to finish using this guy up. I maybe have enough for 1 or 2 more pieces, I'm feeling like, that I can layer along the bottom, and then I will have a nice 5 sheets to show you tomorrow. It's a little dark, but I have my paper babies all laid out and ready to dry overnight. Super excited. This definitely isn't as integrated in the paper as I'd like, so I'll probably just flip them over and use them like that, but it's still kind of fun to look at. And I definitely ran out. I just didn't have enough pulp left in the batch to make this final piece, but hey, it was nice to kind of use it up, but these first 4 are looking really great. I'll probably trim them up, make them super neat. This one probably turned out the best. I really like that one. But yeah, feeling pretty good, so I will see you guys tomorrow. Alright, coming back a couple of days later, everything dried really nicely overnight, but it did kind of warp a little bit, and that was mostly because I had to move them from outside to inside because it was getting a little windy overnight. So I ended up stacking them in some of my books, and I think they're just about ready, or just as flat as they're gonna be. And I'm actually really pleased with how they turned out. There's definitely there's a lot of texture. They're very, very textured, but I feel like that could definitely be something fun to play around with. I really like how imperfect a lot of them are, and something else that I think I've learned from this is I don't think that this is necessarily my go-to option as far as making paper goes, because I just have a handful of petals kind of hanging around, and maybe it would have been different if I would have mixed it in my blender with my pulp, but I just don't think that this is quite the vibe for me. I think I'm just going to kind of trim up some of the edges on this paper. I'm not going to go super perfect, but just kind of want to clean up the edges. I just want to see how it folds, how it rips, you know, little tiny tests. So I guess it's a really thin corner. It's definitely a little bit uneven in texture, but it did rip a little bit on the side where it's thinner, but it did fold really well down the middle, both sides. Not so bad, actually. And it doesn't, I think because of the texture, it kind of hides the fold a little bit in there, which is nice. Let's do a little tear. Pretty good. I actually quite like this like texture of it. I think it's really interesting. Here's a pretty good example of what I might do with it if they're scrapbooking. I just took this picture of my cat really quickly. It's not the best quality photo, and she looked a little terrified in it, but I still think she's a beautiful angel baby, and I think she looks beautiful. So, you know, I took out my like vintage kind of label maker, ripped the edges, made sure some of these flowers were visible, and picked like a matching washi tape to the flowers, and I think it actually looks pretty cute, especially if you had like a lot of pages like this, or even if you wanted to dye the paper. I think just popping a little bit of acrylic paint in, or really any other color medium that would work with these kinds of fibers, would work awesome to kind of dye the color to be whatever you want. And I think if this were kind of like a theme of a lot of your pictures, a lot of Polaroids, handmade, hand layered kind of looks, I think this is definitely something that is worth a try. It's super easy. I managed to throw it together in a day, even with my impatience, and I think everything turned out really great. So I'm going to leave a couple pages with some raggedy edges because I don't know if I'm going to keep them or not, and I think I might actually want to turn these into some sort of journal going forward, and I definitely want to do a video where I paint on these just to kind of see what it's like. So with all that said, I wanted to thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe. I do put out new videos every Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time, and I would love for you to be here for the next one. Thanks again so much, and I hope to see you then. Bye!